you were absolutely slammed for it. Absolutely hammered. Probably still get hammered.
I don't understand why was everyone blowing up about that? Like, he's a utility player that came on and what did he do wrong? He missed the tackle.
That was uneducated people.
I don't
whoever was
understand.
saying that.
Yeah.
He's like that, and just went. He just had no resistance at all. He just went
But Kearnsey,
and just fell off.
if I was the Parramatta board or the chairman, I'd be like that. Jason Riles, please come up to Parramatta.
This is the maddest place on the planet.
Dancing.
The only show where you're allowed to do it without shoes on.
Andrew Johns, one of the greatest players of all time.
Cuddles and kisses go a long way, especially when you're in trouble.
Oh, the horse has bolted. Look at the big fellow go in.
Imagine if he wanted to fire. They're very horny and very aggressive.
Are we allowed to put that to air?
Sydney, stay classy.
I love everyone for making me feel this good.
Welcome to Freddy and the Eighth. Great to be back 7 days out from the start of the Origin series for 2024. How exciting. It is also exciting to be brought to you by our brand new sponsors here on Freddy and the Eighth, Ram Trucks, Australia's biggest and best range of full-size pickup trucks that Andrew Johns and Freddy and the Eighth would look so cool driving.
Actually, that'd be good. The new car, the the Ram 8th. Or the Ram Freddy.
The Ram 8. There you go. There you go.
I'll tell you, one would look fantastic at Terry Hills.
Yeah.
I could really use
I reckon around Bronte, I think it's a big market there.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink.
They are seriously good trucks, the Ram trucks.
They're a weapon.
Coming up, a preview of Origin and a look back on Origin's past, including maybe a little snippet of horse riding and what can go wrong when you incorporate that into an Origin camp. Bearing in mind the Blues are back in the Blue Mountains for the first time since things came a cropper on horseback. Do you think Michael Maguire and his staff realised how cold it was going to be at this time of year?
I looked Monday morning.
0?
Because it was cold in Sydney town, howling westerly breeze, and I looked and it was 3 degrees, which probably felt like -1 or something.
Do you think they'll bar the earthing?
Yeah, no, earthing's gone.
Yeah.
They'll let
Ice baths gone.
Maybe behind the madness, there's this. They need to get closer. So with the cold mornings, they actually need to get in together and have a cuddle.
physically. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, like you said in the lead into the show, cuddles and kisses.
Yeah.
Cuddles and flowers.
Who would you want to room with
If you want to cuddle. Someone big.
Jake Trebojevic.
Someone warm.
Oh, Jake
cuddler?
would be glorious.
Yeah. If you were earthing up there, Freddie, you'd end up with frostbite. We'd have to make some
I was
changes.
gonna
I was going to
say-
say Payne would be a good cuddle.
I was going to
Big
say
bear.
Angus Crichton, but that bushy beard might tickle areas.
He only got half a finger
Perfect.
for some.
Good start. Andrew and Brad do the tipping segment before we record Fred in the Eighth. And I understand there are some very loyal viewers of the tips. Did you run into one recently?
Yeah, I was shopping
Yeah.
in the fruit and veg, and the mandarins at the moment are really nice, by the way. And a lady followed me around, asking me, "Who would you tip in the in the Knights Bulldogs?"
Right.
Oh, the Knights. Really? You tipped them? Well, yeah, you asked.
She
me.
argued with you.
What about the Eels Who are they playing?
This week, Cronulla.
Cronulla. I've gone the Sharks. No, I think Eels will win. Really? Yeah. So, nice to meet you.
You know what? It's funny, there must be like a big elderly audience because I had an elderly lady pull me up at the newsagent.
Really?
Yeah, same thing, tips.
About the tips?
About the tips.
Well, there's a lot of tipping competitions, and you two
yeah.
obviously have a great insight into who may or may not win.
She said she's coming last. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, she's following your tips.
How are you
so
going
that's
in
right.
our tips?
I got a few last week. Because I tipped the Warriors in the upset.
I tip the Warriors.
Anyway, Warriors were very good last week. Before we get into the heart of our discussion today, this is an Origin player. Have a look at Cameron McInnes's head. Now, if you don't think you can sell an Origin player by looking at him, that is an Origin head.
With the teeth out,
Yeah.
especially. He's a throwback to the 70s.
Yeah.
If he had a Winnie Red in his mouth, he'd set like a...
Can I ask you this?
Tommy
Brett?
Radonicus would have loved him.
The chicks dig scars.
No, I think there's a nurturing element. I think, like, if you're bleeding and, you need to be nurtured, I think there's innate gravity towards you.
Okay.
But I don't know about scars.
Yeah. Well, that scar is going to open up in the first tackle of the game.
Yeah.
Like it does
I think
every
it's
week.
more the
Tissue skin.
He's put his head in all the wrong spots, doesn't he?
Joey, you're 53, I'm 54. The leading is 57 at the moment.
Who is that?
Ray Charles.
Ben Glover, Wally Lewis is 56.
The King.
Pasoltis, the Mole, Ferguson.
Yeah, Mile.
They're all 56. Lockyer, 55.
Blake Ferguson.
Blake, yeah.
Stuff Fergo.
Don't know how he's infiltrated our tipping competition. Yeah. But let's go back into the archives. 1995, very famous year for these two gentlemen. I reckon your voices haven't changed. I'm not sure what this is about. Let's have a look.
Brad Fittler was busy today at Origin training. He woke up to the news this morning.
You know, if they've chosen to go to Super League, that's their decision, so I'm just going to have to find a new club. But I thought all the boys are signed, the majority with the RL.
Tonight, nearly all the Blues' attack will centre around the Newcastle duo.
It's good to call a play and get legends like Chief and Freddy to respond to it and run off you. So.
Even though he's played just one game in 9 months, Queensland's Dale Shearer looms as the Blues' danger man.
You'll be trying to pull your pants down every second, and pulling your pants down don't take much energy. So, he's a pretty crafty player, so we're just going to have to watch him.
But New South Wales goes into the
You've been in helium.
Wow. Wow.
Haven't changed a bit.
How come your voice changes like that? It gets deeper.
We weren't doing much media practice back then.
No. And it may have been after a big night. The other days.
You are now the quintessential polished media performers.
100.
Very funny, very funny. Dale Shearer, incidentally, he's always available for Origin. Still sticks his hand up.
He was a good player at that level.
Oh, he was awesome.
Yeah, he was a good player.
I played with him at the Roosters. He played at the Roosters. He was one of those, could do anything. Could do anything left or right foot. I remember we were having shots at goal towards the end of a training session, soccer, and he just come up and smack it left foot. You think he's kicking right foot, and then he just put a left foot in the corner.
Really? So was he genuinely ambidextrous?
He was genuinely could do anything.
Wow. Played 5/8 in that series, that first game, 95. That is such a great story. Is it 30 years next year? Yeah. It's got to be a doco on that. Let's have a look back. Well, let's have a look, indeed, at the top 8 as we head into Origin. Things can change over the Origin period. And there's only 5 games this week, but with a lot of players unavailable, things can flip around a little bit. That's how we are positioned at the moment.
Dolphins have had an amazing draw to start with. They've played a lot of the bottom 4 teams.
And 9 of their first 10 games were in Queensland.
Okay.
They travelled once, that was to Darwin.
Really?
They smoked Parra.
Yep.
Smoked eel. Like that?
Yeah, I like that. Let's flip over. Let's have a look at the bottom of the ladder. Now, are any of these teams able to make a run during Origin?
Warriors.
Well, the Seagulls get this week off, so they go into the 8. Canberra and Newcastle have to win to keep them out, which is very possible.
The Warriors normally have a good time.
We didn't hold that up very long either. Can we put that back up?
Put it back up.
Bottom 8?
Put our bottom,
Warriors will make a run the next 6 weeks. I don't know who they have, but this is when they make a real charge.
But they're knocked around with injuries, aren't they?
But those last 2 wins. Magic
Cowboys,
round.
I can't imagine going to win. The Bulldogs are going to really struggle because they're missing their 3 best players.
What about Gutho and Moses back?
Actually,
Kickout's out for 6 weeks.
I know.
Eels will, well, depending on Moses.
Well, he's in, but they do lose Hopgood, who's been exceptional.
He's been their best best player.
Also, I know it's only halfway through the year, minus 120. Well, that's the second worst, so you've got to actually have another win.
No, we're talking just during Origin.
Right. What's it, 6 weeks, Origin? Yeah. Origin goes for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Warriors will make a run. That's about it.
What about the Bulldogs? I know Burton isn't there.
Yeah, but Moses might here.
No, Crichton.
Crichton isn't.
Moses ain't in the first game, but it's not to say he won't be in the second game or the third game.
Yeah.
So they'll end up with the same problems again.
So we're not quite halfway through the year. Like, are you foreseeing too much change around the 8 already? I mean, Manly.
I'm waiting for the Dolphins to fall over.
Okay.
Well, everyone is.
I'm not this year.
By virtue of their draw, though, they haven't had the most testing of draws.
No, well, as I said, I haven't really seen their next, their last 12 games or 13 games going into the semis. But I think a lot of people are waiting for the Dolphins to fall over, but they're a sort of team that just doesn't beat himself. Whether that game on the weekend, the loss to the Warriors, may affect. No Hemiso this week.
No Kafusi.
No Kafusi, and they've also... Flegler may not play again this year, no Tom Gilbert, so...
I've got to say, though,
their depth may be tested.
the keys to their winning have been their hooker.
Marshall King.
I think Nickaruma's played a huge role in getting points. I think Herbie on the weekend.
Katoa.
I think Katoa does his job. I haven't seen Katoa score many tries or set up many tries, so he's doing his job. But the ones who are creating the points has been Nickaruma. He's been doing a great job. And I think the hooker has been doing a great job. They're like being the ones that have actually, I think, given them the ability to win games.
Love to see the Warriors continue this run. Obviously, big win over Penrith against all odds at Magic Round. And even this game, it was in the balance throughout, but they were really good at home.
This was such a good game. If anyone hasn't watched
him all year now, Cora.
If anyone hasn't watched
I haven't had him all year.
That's right, yeah.
Go watch the replay and turn it up and listen to the crowd. And as the game went on, they all started to believe. It was a great game.
And I suppose given they've turned their form around as they progressively get their bigger name players back, they're coming into a team that's got a bit of confidence about it now.
Well, you know what they do? They've got to fight for their spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to fight. That's what happens. You come in, your team's winning, you think, oh my, I better come in fit.
I better come in fit. I better be working hard.
What's the prognosis on Johnson?
Don't know.
Well, they get the bye this week. You'd think next week they'll get a big chunk of their players back. Offhand, Roger had a hamstring. Actually, Johnson had a calf, didn't he?
Well, he's been struggling with that Achilles, but I'm not sure.
Tohu, they're missing their captain.
Yeah.
Their front row will come back this week.
Fanua Blake.
Fanua Blake.
Well, next week they get the bye.
Capel. What's Capel? How long's he out for?
I'm not sure.
There's a few.
We'll have to do a health check on the Warriors, but there's
mysteries.
a stack missing. On the way to the break, we'll have a good yarn about Origin after this, but who could ever forget one of the most notorious bonding sessions ever?
Kearns arrived at Katoomba Hospital, his immediate Origin future on the line.
I just felt the hurt, man.
The players were looking forward to the day. It was meant to be a bonding session with a difference. But the risk was acknowledged at earlier team medicals. Just minutes into the ride, there was an urgent call for help.
An ambulance down Shenandoah immediately, please. Yeah, real quick, please.
Team officials say Kearns was hurt when his mount bolted after colliding with another horse. Kearns was taken to hospital with a suspected broken collarbone and facial cuts. Some teammates were unaware of the drama after their ride.
I'd much prefer to lose my money on them than ride them. It was terrifying riding them horses. They're just so big.
It was supposed to be a new approach to a new era in Origin football. New South Wales, with 8 debutants, signalled that. Now veteran Glenn Lazarus has been brought in to replace Kearns, who doctors say won't need surgery. Clinton Fletcher, National 9 News.
Well, the reason behind it, Wayne Pearce, he was coaching a known teetotaler, so he thought, we'll take him up the Blue Mountains and we'll go horse riding so they don't get on the drink and no one hurts himself.
What about Robbie Kearns can't get in the hospital?
You
It
know
looks like an episode of Blue Heelers.
Yeah, his fault it was Terry Hill.
Oh, that's a
So
shock.
what happened was all the horses come together. There was people who actually were riding off into the hills, and there was other people that could only walk. They were nervous. So when they come together, Terry and a few of us just took off up the hill.
Right.
And what happened was Kearnsy and Bradley Clyde's horse.
They bolted.
That was the rebel group.
They're trail horses.
And they bolted after us, and they just, mate. I remember watching Clydie. I remember seeing Clydie fall off. It was the most uncoordinated. He's like that, and just went. He just had no resistance at all. He just went.
But Kearnsy,
and just fell off.
Kearnsy's foot got caught in a stirrup and dragged him.
Oh, how embarrassing.
Oh, that was funny.
Kearn dog.
I've got to say, you didn't look real natural on the back of a horse.
First time I've ever been on a horse.
Oh, really?
First time.
And you got the grey.
I was behind Steve the whole way, Jason Stephen, and the horse. I don't know if it was a horse or.
He's reenacting it.
I don't know if it was the horse or Steve just farted all the way around, just parting me hair.
I remember Ryan Girdler said he had a bad experience with a grey horse called Snowy. And I went up and they go, that's your horse. I said, what's his name? They said, Snowy.
Oh, bad attitude, that horse.
How ridiculous when you think about it.
Well, you know the other thing we
Most
did?
idiotic thing.
You know the other thing we did? Do you remember? We went on the America's Cup boat. We had a sailing contest.
Did you really?
We had a sailing contest on the harbour, and I think it was like the netball team or the women's netball team or basketball team. They were on another boat.
Yeah.
We're on one boat, and there was a third boat full of someone.
That'd be cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
We're
Australia
on
too.
there straight too.
Wow. Wing keel and everything.
I'd say so. I didn't
There
get
you
under the boat.
Let's have a look at the teams. Let's flash them up on screen. 7 days away now. Just so much anticipation around the selection of these teams. There is every year, but it seems like this year as much as ever. Obviously, Michael Maguire taking over from you, Brad. There was an opportunity for him to make some changes, and he hasn't disappointed with six changes overall. What about your initial thoughts, both of you, on this team?
I think the forward pack's really strong. I think the bench is strong. I think the back five coming out of trouble is really strong. The only one I'm sort of looking at, whether Zach Lomax will play centres and Joseph Suoli'i plays wing. I think Joseph, his play twos coming out of trouble are stronger.
Why would he do that, Bum? Why would he pick a team and then change them? I can't imagine he'd do that.
I have no idea.
I'm thinking he's got Zach there purely like for his catching and what he's done.
He can do that
as in
centre.
Him running.
I'm just watching Joseph this year for the Roosters. Some of his decision making was quite erratic. He'd jam when he shouldn't. He'd be passive when he should have jammed. I see him more as a winger.
Very inexperienced, the back line. I think, like he said, true to his word, he was picking form. They're all in really good form. I like the fact he's changed pretty much everything. He's not in Coogee. He's gone up to the Blue Mountains, and it'll be a very different experience for all these blokes. I think he's done a really good job there. Not carrying a back on the bench, I think, is a big risk. I know he's highlighted Hudson Young to play in the centres.
On the other hand, people are blowing up about Cobbo. So you can't win.
Mate,
Queenslanders are blowing up because Cobbo.
Every game a back's going down now.
I heard a stat that this year in the NRL, any team that has lost an outside back in the first half has not won a game.
Is that right?
Has not won a game.
So we had Cookie there. We put Cookie, and I got heaps of criticism for that, but he scored a try. He actually did a really good job. He actually played for South again on the weekend in the centres. The fact is, he had Reece Walsh coming around. Mate, Reece Walsh gets the best players, the absolute best. So if you're going to put like a Hudson Young, or they need to be practicing because like his speed gets everyone.
So to that end, do you think
Do you think
that's a tactical error not having a specialist outside back?
Do you think maybe there might be a change and Burton comes into the 17?
I don't think he'll be changing too much. I think that'll be his team.
The bench looks really strong for New South Wales. Really strong.
But do you see that as an oversight? Do you think now you need to have a dedicated outside
I
back?
think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. And if a half goes down, I don't know what you'd do if a half went down.
Burton would be a perfect player in that scenario, wouldn't he, Joe? Because he can go, obviously, into the halves. He's been a centre of the year. He's even big enough he could play him in the forwards.
He can play in the back row. Yep.
So you would have him in your 17?
Depends how you're going to play. By the look of it, if you look at the team Matt just picked, it looks like it's going to be a power game through the middle, which suits a core. And there's supposed to be rain around later over the weekend.
There's 50 mils on Sunday.
Yeah. I don't know how far it extends. I think it actually sort of goes quiet again on Tuesday, Wednesday.
But you know the ground out there can get slippery. The interesting one for me with the Queensland team, if maybe we could get it back up, is the amount of minutes his middles will play. Lindsay Collins plays huge minutes. Ruben Cotter's starting. He can play 80 minutes. Carrigan plays 80 minutes. So I think Billy's picked those middles knowing they'll play longer minutes where he can have three forwards and he can keep Selwyn just in case. And Selwyn may only play 10 minutes.
But four of the New South Wales middles are 80-minute players. I mean, both the props can play 80 minutes.
But at that
Trebojevic, Haas, McInnes, Yo off the bench.
Mate, both sides have only got two front rowers. The rest of their players are all locks. I know locks are similar to front rowers, but they're not. They're not taking first up hit ups, and so pretty much both sides only have two front rowers. They have. So who have we got? We've got Spencer and Payne, and they've got Lindsay Collins and Moses. Mo Fatawaika. They're the only front rowers, 4 front rowers in both teams.
I think it's exciting Hudson Young coming on in the middle. Hudson, the way he runs and physically and speed reminds me a lot of Chock Watmar. Remember Chock had come on through the middle and destroy him?
So who are your other blokes coming off the bench? So you got Olaquatu, who's a back rower.
He'll be playing an edge.
Yeah, so
Yo.
Yo's a middle.
I think he'll start with Yo. I think he's the ideal.
Take the
Cameron
captain
McInnes.
off.
I think Cameron McInnes is the one who starts at 14s. He can cover the middles and dummy half. He can give Robson a spell.
I think Cam McInnes come through as a bit of a half hooker.
Well,
He
played
hooker.
hooker in the NRL when he first started. In fact, he started under Magic Souths as a hooker.
Has he played halves? Like someone's got to cover halves.
I don't think
He played Well, he actually played halves for Cronulla. This might be the game down in Melbourne a couple of weeks
Yeah,
back.
but mate, you're not comparing apples with apples. Origin time, when there's no breaks, when there's no penalties, when the ball's just end to end, and the job of the halfback is to get a tackle on.
But if a half goes
The
down...
one thing they've done better than anyone, Cronulla, is, which has been a massive improvement, is while under pressure, they've still played footy. That's what they've done. That's been their improvement, is they've been able to go with teams, and then Nico and a few of them been able to still play footy and attack.
Just with respect to the half, though, if
Well,
one
then
of the
we go-
halves goes down, whichever one's out there will play halfback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to be looking for a 6 to go alongside that, aren't you? You're not looking for
Well, once again,
making halfback.
You haven't got an outside
today
back to
is
come in.
Wednesday. The first day, Nico didn't train today, which means the calf, well, whether it wouldn't be the HIA because he passed the HIA on Saturday night. So a lot of the noise has been around new combinations. Everyone has to be fit first session. So with Nico being in a little bit of doubt with the calf, does that mean Burton has to be into the 17? There's a lot of thinking going in. Well, you'd know how much you put your head on your pillow. You'd be just...
So who do you take off? You're going to have to take... So you'd have to take Hudson Young off, bring McInnes to the bench and start Yo.
Or Lenu.
Well, you've got no other front rowers. You've got no one to punch through the middle. You can't have all back rowers.
It is curious that they've gone in knowing that Hines isn't going to be able to train from day one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they haven't had much choice, let's face it.
Well, there's the option
Well,
of
Keary's
Keary.
in.
Or the
Oh,
option,
Keary, yeah,
the
of course.
option
But
was-
Keary's been playing 5'8" the whole year. I know he's...
You want to Clive Churchill.
But wouldn't Luai,
I know, but that was
go to
years
halfback?
ago.
What's that?
Luai'd go to halfback.
But once again, Luai and Burton
You
are both
think of
left
players
field.
who are playing 5'8". Well, they're playing 5'8" week in, week out. There's a tad different in the position,
Well, no, of course there is.
I'd keep him
especially,
in.
especially at the high level.
He'll play short stints, Spencer, 10 minutes, and just 10, 15 minutes. He's formed since he's come back. Jesus.
You need, like, honestly, both 2 front rows. You've got 4 front rows in players that play front row. That's it. So the ones out of there are going to have to stay and going to have to do their job really well.
Can I ask you about the fullback? It's not a surprise as such, but what's your reaction to James Tedesco's time coming to an end, at least momentarily anyway? He hasn't missed a game since he debuted.
I was surprised, purely for the fact that very inexperienced in key positions. Nico's played 1 game off the bench. Jerome Luai's played a little bit. How many's Jerome played? Half a dozen or maybe 8? Reece Robson's only played 1 or 2. So I just thought the experience of Tedesco at the back. But Dylan Edwards, without doubt, deserves his spot. Dylan Edwards, To'o, and if they go Sualihi, those 3 players bring the ball back better than anyone. So you got that kick reception footy.
He was your captain, Brad. What do you think?
You know what? He gave me one of my greatest moments in life when he scored that try in 2019. I would be loyal to Teddy, and nothing has ever said to me that a reason not to be loyal. But from the point of view of Dylan Edwards, there's 2 ways you get something. You have someone gives it to you, or you go and take it.
Like
He
a Ram
took it.
truck.
Exactly, he took
Like
it.
a Ram truck.
You can't question Dylan Edwards and what he's done and not even the last 6 months, the last 4 years. He's been absolutely incredible. So
He's played in 4 grand finals in a row. He's won a Clive Churchill medal. He's won 3 premierships. He's played for Australia. There haven't been too many better credentialed
100%.
players to come into that role.
he has,
100%.
he's been outside the halfback, Nathan. He's been the best player consistently in the competition. And goal kicks. Wonder they'll get the goal kick.
He kicks good too.
Nico. Or Zach Lomax.
Zach Lomax.
Which one? Nico or Zach
Nico's got a
Lomax.
dodgy calf, and it'll be Lomax, wouldn't it? What about Soili'i? He slots.
Or
him
Edwards. Mate, all of them.
Won't
They
be
all
Dylan
kick.
Edwards.
No, I think it'd be
Won't be Dylan.
Lomax will kick.
Stephen Crichton. I reckon Stephen Crichton. I don't know why Canterbury don't kick with him.
Timing is beautiful.
He's
What about Queensland now? Jaden Sewer instead of David Fafita.
Well, that's work rate.
Yeah.
Defensively, stronger. We know David's an incredible attacking player, but defensively,
Were you surprised David wasn't on the bench?
yep, I was really surprised.
So was I. I think I was trying to listen to Billy, and Billy was saying he hasn't played to the same standards. I thought his last 2 weeks have been outstanding.
Sewer's rugged, defends strong, probably got a bigger motor. Where Fafita's a power athlete. Cookie, get out of there, it's not your go. He's supposed to wrecking ball. But there's two parts of footy. There's attack and defence.
Yeah.
And game one, traditionally, is a low-scoring game, a tight game, so Billy's gone for a defensive back rower. There'll be a plan with Bill. He was good last weekend against the Broncos.
He's been strong, as Brad said,
It's a genetic freak.
last few weeks. The selection of Hopgood has to be applauded. He's played his way into that team, and as Billy was at pains to point out, there's more to him than just being a worker. But he's the leading offloader in
He's
the
the
comp.
offloader.
Mate, he is a ball player. He's a halfback in a back row's body. He's very good, slick.
He was on the Sunday Footy show. What a cracking young bloke.
Yeah.
Although not this time of year when he's a Queenslander.
And he comes
He's a good
head-to-head
player.
with his, master, if you will. If he was the apprentice, Isaiah was the master, he'd learn everything underneath him.
Another product of Penrith.
Yeah.
They've had some players go to other clubs and kick on.
Now, just with the Cobbo thing, I know we've sort of touched on his role as bench cover. If they don't get any head knocks in the outside backs, can you see a role for him coming on in the middle in that impact capacity where they've used Cherry Evans, they've used Cronk, they've used Hunt, they've used all these guys throughout the years in that role?
No, he couldn't play Selwyn in the middle. He's effort on effort. He's a total power player. Total power athlete, where it's all explosive energy. I don't think he's anaerobically he'd have the motor to play in the middle. But he could play anywhere in the backs except for probably halfback. He'd be dangerous as a running 5'8". But, as I said, Selwyn might only play 5 minutes somewhere, might play 10, he might play 75, depending. Freddie spoke about the importance of carrying an outside back.
It's all hindsight because at the end of the day, you put an outside back on and no one gets injured.
Well, you played Guffo in Game 3 last year and you didn't have any injuries in the outside backs.
You come on and play 3 minutes, had a ball. So you got to make sure you bring someone in likeable for that position.
Right. Who's happy just to sit there and be there for the experience. All right, there's so much to look forward to with Origin, as you can see. 7 days,
Well,
6
can I
hours.
just, before you go?
Of course.
Game one, you had Nico on the bench.
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't know his role and came on in a foreign position in the centres.
No, he knew his role. From point of view, if he knew he was covering hooker and every position in the backs.
Saying, you were absolutely slammed for it. Absolutely hemmed. Probably still get hemmed.
I don't understand why was everyone blowing up about that? Like, he's a utility player that came on and what did he do wrong? He missed the tackle.
That was
seriously.
uneducated people.
I don't
whoever was
understand.
saying that.
Yeah.
That was his whole role, to come on and fill those positions.
But
And the
everyone
thing
knew that was his role.
he was beaten by Cam Munster, who actually beat Nathan Cleary before, beat 3 other players, went around, passed it to Hammer, who's the quickest bloke in the comp. They were just outplayed.
Of course.
Simple
I
as
don't
that.
understand
But that's when they were down.
We were outplayed.
They were down to 12 men too at that time.
Yeah. Mate, we actually just got... Anyway, I won't go into the penalty that...
You should have
I
won.
won't go into the penalty that they got their extra set of 6. It'd be nice to show
But
that.
the Nico Hines thing, like the way he was
I'm not holding a
castigated
grudge.
after that was just, I thought it was utterly bizarre.
Connor, producer, show the penalty. Liam Martin touching someone on the ground. Got an extra set of 6.
Well, you can't just
Just
dig
show
it
it.
Who's Connor?
What? Murray.
Oh, Murray.
Old Connor.
Murray Connor.
Murray Conlon.
First time he's got angry since he's left the job.
That was the worst penalty I've ever seen rep footy. Anyway.
There you have it. Speaking of fired up, what could get you fired up more than a Gus Gould final word from Origin from years past? Take it away, Gussie.
I'll tell you what, Peter, the crowd down here is starting to find its voice. 5 young players make their debut for New South Wales tonight. And in the lead up to the game, they've received a lot of encouragement, a lot of support. You know, the team has tried to shield them away from the media and the hype. But when they run out here tonight, there's no shielding anyone. There's nowhere to hide in Origin. It's a man's game. They've been picked to do a man's job, and they've got to stand up. I think they're up to the challenge. We know that this game will be decided at the back end. We know that Queensland will be there. It's whether or not the young New South Wales players will believe in themselves at that stage of the game. I got no doubt this will go down to the wire. This is the greatest challenge any footballer can face, particularly here in Brisbane at Suncorp Stadium. And I know what you're saying. When you get out there, it's just another game of football. It's just another ground. Well, let me tell you it's not. And I'll give you the perfect demonstration. Come and meet my friends, the Queenslanders, over here. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. Have a look at that. Queensland, beautiful one day, state of origin the next.
Oh,
Too good.
he's the master. How good's that?
What year was that, do you know?
Mid.
Well, they had 5 young blokes.
Well, it was a
trying to think
Wizard jumper, so it was from the Wizard days. Don't know. How good. Only Gus would have the balls to go over to the Queensland crowd with the New South Wales jumper and wave it around. Sensational. You've got to do it again, Gus. Doesn't want to do it anymore.
Why?
I don't know. He feels like he's lost his magic.
Oh, seriously.
What about you? You should take over.
You know what happens? I'm not as smart as Gus. But what happens is, it's just the, what do you call it? The small minorities. God.
For what?
Well, who just, you know, who's, whatever they do, they're the ones
What's to do with Gus in the last word?
Well, I'm assuming that the only reason he doesn't do them is because something's been said. I don't know. Why wouldn't he do them? He's the best, the master.
I think he's
He's had
bowing
enough.
out on top.
I don't think Gus would have a rat's ass about the
I don't
loud
think Gus
minorities.
cares about minorities, does
Well,
he?
let's put the call out.
Yeah. But bring back Gus. Bring back the last word.
There it is.
Hashtag.
Hashtag bring back Gus.
Yes, very good. Parramatta. What's the matter at Parramatta? They reckon. Now, this is interesting. They reckon they've got a short list of coaches, and if you read between the lines, that Michael Maguire is right at the top. What,
If I was the Parramatta,
if I was for 1 year and gets a club job.
if I was the Parramatta board or the chairman, I'd be like that. Prr, prr. Jason Riles, please come up to Parramatta.
Well, I think he's one of
He's the one.
a short list.
He's the one.
What
been
makes
in
you
great
so confident
systems.
about that?
Why? Well, we played with Riles. He was a halfback in front rower's body, incredibly smart footy-wise. He's been in incredible systems. He's been down to Melbourne. He's had an apprenticeship under Eddie Jones in rugby union. So I think the time's right for Jason Riles, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt.
They've been an appealing club, Freddie, wouldn't it? The big resource club.
Parramatta?
Yeah, big
One of the
fan base.
great clubs. One of the great clubs. I grew up in the Parramatta area.
Yeah.
And the blue and gold, the James Hardy, I believe James Hardy have jumped back on board, so congratulations. Whoever does take the job is going to go into an incredible new era, hopefully bring back that aura from the 80s. When I grew up, they were everything. The Parramatta team of the 80s were rugby league. Jack Gibson as coach, you had Sterler and Brett Kenny and Ray Price and Eric Grunt. They ran rugby league.
Yeah.
And everyone followed them. If you didn't follow them, you hated them.
You know, in a funny sort of way, it's that era that has caused, what's the word? That era looms large over the club even today because it's been so long since they won a premiership.
Well, that's like, you know, you look at the halfback in Newcastle, like what Joey did up there, but someone's got to stand up to it at some stage. Stand up to it. Run with it.
The juniors, I think in the Harold Matthews, they got beat maybe in the semi-finals, but in the SG Ball and the Jersey Flag, they did not make the semis, which is unheard of. Parramatta in the juniors.
Jersey Fluke's still going, but
Oh,
SG
okay.
Ball, you're right. Yeah, 19s did no good.
But Parramatta have always, for the last 20, 30 years, have always had really strong juniors.
There's
For the
also
last few
3 or
years.
4 really strong schools around there as well.
Okay.
That area. You know, you got your Fairfields and your Westfields and all those sort of schools. They've got all the best kids coming
they
through.
feed
The
into
Blacktowns
Parramatta?
and well, it's all Parramatta area. At one stage, they all went to Parramatta first and then went off to the other clubs after that. But the clubs around there have gotten smarter. The Dogs have gotten smarter. Penrith have gotten smarter. You know, you look at Penrith now. Like, I think last year we highlighted there was like 10 players out of St Pat's Blacktown that all played for Penrith. A lot of them.
You know, you said you're a Parramatta Junior. Did you know Brandy trolled at Parramatta too? Can you imagine how different?
Brandy went to Fairfield Pats.
Imagine if they were both at Parra.
Paul Gallen,
Yeah.
Parramatta Junior. So
I nearly went to Parramatta.
So
When I went to the Roosters, it was between the Roosters, Parramatta and Manly. And I was going to go to Parramatta.
Wow.
But Gus was at the Roosters. I followed Gus. That was
That's
in
no one's ever
1996.
known.
Really? Wow.
The 3 clubs.
So when you went to, if you went to Parra, that's when Jimmy Dimmick, McCracken, Dean Pay all came
They all
back.
come home from Canterbury.
Jason Smith.
Jason Smith.
There was
Wow.
4 blokes from the Dogs. that
Throw
went.
in Fitler. Parramatta, so that was 97 they all
96.
came? 96. Parra got to the semis, didn't they? 96.
Yeah, they would have for sure.
Yeah.
What was it 98 they lost the unlosed? Weren't they
Bulldogs.
miles ahead of the
2001.
Bulldogs?
Oh,
No,
right,
no.
yeah.
When Bulldogs beat him in that semi.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
miles ahead.
98.
Poor Paul Carriage had a Barry. Remember that?
Actually, 97, we beat him in the semi-final because Jason Smith kneed me in the ribs, which then broke my 3 ribs.
We went through the other side. We went through Manly. Manly beat us in a field goal. Craig Field kicked a field goal.
That's right.
So you're broken 3 ribs, which gave you then a chance to recuperate in hospital and play with the broken.
No, I played next week
Who'd you beat?
against North Sydney.
You beat North by a field goal.
Yeah.
And Manly beat us by a field goal in 97.
Wow. No, I meant when you came in a hospital bed all week and checked yourself out.
No, I
and
played
in
the
grand
next
final.
week. I played the next week against North Sydney. That's where I punched my lung.
Oh, right.
So I was in hospital all grand final week.
Yeah.
I didn't get out till Friday. Walked into training like that, full of pethidine. Hey, boys, see how good I feel. How's your ribs? I don't know.
What are we doing on the weekend?
What's wrong with my ribs?
What's on Sunday? I've got a grand final to win. Okay.
What about this Blaze Talangi?
They got to keep him.
They can't lose him, can they?
They have to keep him. So moving forward, you have Moses and Dylan Brown are there for, say, 5 years. And then Gutho and you got Blaze Talangi. There's some serious X factor. Probably a position they need to strengthen is maybe dummy half. Lussick's been, is he put to the bench? And Brendan Hands is?
Brendan Hands is playing hooker. Where's Blaze? You can't, like, what's Blaze going to get on the open market as of, you know? he's
700,
played-
800.
Yeah, there you go. There you got a 19-year-old kid. 18 or 19?
19.
19-year-old kid. So you got Gutho at the back. He's on that. You got a half-back and a 5'8", all on that.
2 front rowers on.
Would you consider letting, and I mentioned this last week, would you consider letting Dylan Brown go to keep him?
No.
But you can't have all of them. I don't think you can have
can't
all
have all
four. And, like, from a point of view of where they fell down was they lost all their forwards in one go. 5 forwards all went
When?
2 years ago.
Who?
Kafusi, Reid Marnie,
Britton Nukora. Oh, yeah.
Ray Stone,
Yeah.
and Papali'i. All of them in one go. Pretty much their forward pack, bar the front rows.
All right. Origin coming up, but we've still got a round of club footy to go. An abbreviated round, but the boys will run their eye over that coming up. And it starts off with Parramatta up against the Sharks in Thursday night footy.
Moses and Gutherson are back, and it's game on!
Parra's live wires are back for a high voltage shootout. Thursday, Gutho and Moses return to reignite the Eels against the shell-shocked Sharks with a point to prove.
Oh, big hits!
Explosive Thursday night footy.
Oh, how about that? It was all happening.
Eels, Sharks, live and free on 9 and 9 now.
Freddy the Eighth medal chugging along. This is gaining notoriety right around the league, boys. This is the ultimate prize amongst some of the players, particularly those that like a long
Has
run.
Stu Laundy been in touch?
Now, this is Freddie's bit at
Getting a free lunch.
luring
Murray-
free
Get a
lunches
free
out of
lunch.
the
Murray Martin's performance on the weekend was
Yeah.
one of the great halfbacks.
Stu, it's Freddie and Joey. We're doing Freddie in the 8th. Give us a call if you get this message in the next, 10 minutes?
5.
We're hungry,
5
thirsty
minutes.
for the end of the year.
Right, mate. Have a good day.
Yeah, Tamaro Martin, absolute unbelievable performance.
How good was he?
I don't know whether I got Dylan Edwards. I put Toby Sexton.
You don't know what you've done. I reckon
Mate.
Murray's right.
You know what? This is the first chance they had in the game, anywhere near their try line. He come up with a perfect kick where they could compete for it. He scored the next try. And then just had them going the whole game. He was awesome. Look at that
on
pass. Mate.
To think that he would never play rugby league again at one stage.
Bleeding in the brain.
Isn't that remarkable?
2 years out of the game. 2019. And then the Broncos brought him back down. And actually it was awesome for the Broncos when he came back as well.
Toby Sexton, changing the halves for Canterbury last week, played fantastic.
He was unbelievable.
Sexy Sexton.
What about that for a put down?
He's very skillful, Matt Burton, isn't he?
He likes to run the ball, Sexton. He's got a turn of foot.
I've been watching him for the last couple of years. He should not be playing reserve grade.
Thursday night footy, Parra Sharkies. We've already promoted that for tomorrow. It's a
I think
comeback.
Eels are absolute morals.
What?
Yeah.
Morals?
I think Moses back, Gutherson back. I think they're morals. Out there.
Hopgood's not playing.
Cronulla are also coming off getting smashed.
Yeah.
It's their second loss of the year. Their standards are pretty high, Cronulla, so Parramatta will have to be at their absolute best.
So no Nick
absolute
out, which
best.
is a big out.
Braden
and
Trennell's in.
Also, no
McInnes.
Cameron McInnes is a massive out.
Plays a huge role in there.
Huge minutes, does all the dirty work.
So to the lady in the fruit and veg shop, where Andrew was, Parramatta are...
Morals.
There you
She
go.
changed it. She had tipped Cronulla, and I said, no, go Parramatta.
Ooh.
And then the next game, my Knights, go on.
Newcastle versus Bulldogs. Friday night footy.
She tipped the Bulldogs.
Well, she's got nothing.
Really? Did she know who was
kidding.
playing? She hadn't seen the team list, obviously.
Well, she told me she's coming last, so obviously she said, it's like my young
What did she
boy.
have in a basket? What sort of stuff was she buying?
Don't know. No, she didn't have a basket.
Oh, she just followed you
Just
in.
followed me around.
Not another one.
Yeah.
But yes, Newcastle Bulldogs. David Armstrong. He's nearly my favourite player now.
Newcastle, once again, Newcastle morals in this one. No Stephen Crichton, no kick out,
No burden.
no Burton. So you got your 5'8" does most of the kicking. You got Stephen Crichton, who defensively is the best centre defensively, and you got your go-to man on the edge kick out. Knights for me.
4 in a row, the Knights. Last team to beat them was the Dogs.
Nice. It's amazing they won 4 in a row without Ponga. As soon as Ponga
Went down.
has gone out of that team, it's been a collaborative effort. They've all put the shoulder to the wheel.
I remember speaking to Adam O'Brien that week. I had to ring him about something, and he said, you know what, they're all just going to have to work harder. And that's what they've done.
It helps when you've got a blistering fullback like that. Great support player.
His anticipation and support.
Yeah.
It
We're
shows,
talking
mate.
to Nathan Blacklock on Turn It Up on the weekend, and he kept talking about, I said, he was incredible, talking about anticipation, how he just knew, and he knew which players when they got the ball. Davey Armstrong was a bit like that. Another one, Dylan Lucas in the back row has been absolutely outstanding.
Mobile.
Player. Mobile, former centre. Probably didn't have the top end speed to be a top line centre, but works
See
that
when he
hard.
breaks the line, but when he breaks the line, he's off.
Yeah.
He leaves the defence behind. Not many,
Well, he did one
not many
against the
back rowers do that, where you actually leave the defence behind and then you just come.
That was
just you and
Davey's-
the fullback.
That was Davey Armstrong's third try. He went left foot inside Dylan Lucas, and put Davey Armstrong. So those two, Davey Armstrong, Dylan Lucas, both is sensational boys.
Speaking of top end speed, do you reckon anyone's been as fast off the mark as Nathan Blacklock? He was at top speed within
was
about
fast
2
here,
or 3
mate.
strides.
He was fast here.
Yeah, but he was dynamic off
Like
the
he
mark.
said, anticipation, and then you just go.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable on Turn It Up.
You know who was fast? You know who was fast off the mark? Jamie Soward.
He was too.
You know he's underrated quick. Mitch Moses.
Yeah, he's lightning.
He's good for 80. Jamie Soward, I reckon there wouldn't be many quicker over about 15 metres than Jamie Soward. I reckon he covered more grubber kicks than anyone I've ever seen in my life. Because they used to come up and they'd always want to kick behind. You could never get him. He was that quick.
Roosters Cowboys, Sunday footy. Cows have been knocked around more than any other team, really, with Origin unavailability. It's to be honest, they should probably have a bye, shouldn't they?
Who?
Shouldn't the Cows have a bye? Like, shouldn't the
So
teams are going to get
they
absolutely
might have
lambasted?
They might have 2 during this time.
Yeah,
Maybe
everyone gets 3 buys. It is what it is.
But don't they try to give the teams that are going to be heavily impacted buys around this time?
Mate, what happens is there's a massive algorithm. You throw all these things in it, home games, away games, and a computer just spits it out.
We'll give him the
Speaking of
bye in
computers,
round 16. That's some computer. Big Bushman's hanky. We'll give him a buy here. Geez, that's some
Speaking of computers, have you got a new phone yet?
Yeah, I got a new phone the other day.
Show us.
Yeah.
Show us.
Well, it's the same one. I really don't like change in my life.
No.
Funny enough.
But it's not an iPhone 1.
It's the same one.
How did you get an old phone like that is an original?
I thought I went to the Apple store, but actually went to Cash Converters next door.
That's 140 years old.
I bought these in a pair of speed dealer sunnies. No, it's exactly the same phone. And the same apps.
You've even got the button there. Wow.
Because they said the button doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
So get me one with a button.
So you actually bought that from an Apple shop?
Yeah.
It's like the first model. It's amazing.
Does it tell you? You can go into this. If you go into that, see the grey thing.
There's
That's
settings.
that. And it should tell you what sort of phone it is. Where you go to?
Yes, should we have a Joey tech segment? I don't think so. No, that's your web browsing history. We don't
Actually,
want
the best thing, my 15-year-old son showed me how to get rid of my history, which is...
before we go, Brad was a little bit cranky about, I don't know if we should be doing this for Brad's mental health.
But
Here's the worst penalty you've ever seen on Origin.
Liam Martin holding down. That was a penalty.
Oh!
That was a penalty. Ashley.
Oh!
18-16, Ashley.
Oh!
Seriously. That was a penalty.
He was going all right.
That's the end.
See you, mate.
See you, Fred.
That's Freddy the Eighth. We'll see you next week.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour. Grab a seat on the couch for that. And, of course, my favourite, Freddy the Eighth.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.